You know, sometimes the most amazing human stories aren't in history books. They're hidden in plain sight. Like right here, written in this incredible script on a piece of aging paper. Today, we're going to decode this single, beautiful document from 19th century Spain. We're going to uncover a real story, a tale of land, hard work, and a huge promise made between two guys.
So look at this. This isn't just some dry, boring legal paper. No way. This was the foundation of a family's entire livelihood. It was signed in this small Catalan town, and it really just captures this one single moment. A moment when two different lives got completely tangled up in the shared gamble. A gamble on a wild patch of land, all sealed with ink and a whole lot of trust.
But what's really inside this thing? I mean, what did they actually promise each other? What were the risks they were taking on? And what can it tell us about how people lived and did business more than 100 years ago? All right, let's dive in and find out.
Okay, so here we are, a contract from 1884. We're in a town called Espluga de Francolí. And right off the bat, you need to know this was officially recorded by a public notary. That means it was a serious, legally binding partnership. For the people involved, this wasn't just some casual handshake deal. Oh no. This was a life decision with consequences that were going to last for decades.
So let's meet the two Ramones. Yeah, you heard that right. Both guys were named Ramon. They were at the absolute heart of this story. They came from a nearby village, but they had pretty different backgrounds, and they were at totally different points in their lives. But here's the thing. They needed each other to make this whole thing work.
And the document lays it out perfectly. It's a classic partnership, really. On one side, you've got Ramon Salas. He's 69 years old, a propietario, a landowner. He has the capital, which in this case is the land itself. And on the other side, we have Ramon Llosa. He's 45, an estanquero, a tobacconist. He's the one with the ambition and the willingness to put in years and years of hard labor.
And look, you can see it written right here in the document, in this beautiful script. It spells out their roles so clearly. Propietario, the owner. Estanquero, the tobacconist. And these aren't just job titles, you know. They are their legally binding identities written right into the historical record. This is what made their commitment official.
Okay, so we know who the players are, but what was the actual deal? Let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. The land, the labor, and the very specific kind of contract they used.
They used a really specific kind of agreement. It's called a rabassa morta contract. The easiest way to think about it is like a super long-term lease, almost like a joint venture, but specifically for making wine. The landowner gives up a piece of useless, uncultivated land, and the farmer, well, he invests years of his life to make it productive. And then they share what comes out of it.
And the contract lays out Ramon Llosa's duties, and wow, it was a huge task. Just imagine this. He had to take a piece of raw wild land and turn it into a working vineyard. That meant he had to clear everything. Then he had to plant the whole thing with, and I'm quoting here, good quality grapevines, and then he had to dig it and cultivate it every single year. This was not a weekend project. This was a massive, life-consuming investment of pure hard work.
So after all that backbreaking labor, what was the payoff? Let's talk about the wine. How was this whole partnership structured so that both guys, the one with the land and the one doing the work, actually made something from it?
First off, just look at this number, 29. That's how many years this contract was for. 29 years. I mean, think about that. It was signed in 1884. It wouldn't be over until 1913. This wasn't just a job. It was practically a lifetime commitment, a promise that spanned generations.
And here it is, the financial heart of the deal. It was actually pretty simple. Of all the wine they produce each year, Ramon Llosa, the cultivator who's doing all the heavy lifting, he gets to keep 2/3 of it. The landowner, Ramon Salas, he gets the other 1/3. That's his share. A pretty straightforward split of the harvest.
Okay, I absolutely love this little detail. The contract actually says that the owner's 1/3 share of the wine had to be delivered directly to his house in the village. Can you just picture that? Ramon Llosa, after a full year of work, loading up all that wine and hauling it over to his partner's home. It just makes the whole thing feel so real, so personal.
But of course, with any deal that's supposed to last for nearly 30 years, you're gonna have risks. I mean, farming is unpredictable now. Imagine what it was like back then. So the contract had to have a plan for when things went wrong.
for disasters, for disagreements, for all the crazy, unexpected stuff life throws at you.
Right? A 29-year commitment, anything could happen. So what if the harvest failed one year? What if the cultivator, Ramon Josa, got sick? What if a war broke out? Was he just completely out of luck, exposed to things he couldn't possibly control? Or was there some kind of safety net built into this thing?
And this is what's really amazing. The contract did have protections built right in. It literally says that if Ramon Josa couldn't work the land because of his own illness, or because of plagues, or war, or even a drought, it actually uses the specific words falta de lluvias, a lack of rain, then he wouldn't be penalized for it. That shows a really surprising amount of fairness and foresight for that time period. It's pretty incredible.
And make no mistake, this was way more than just a handshake deal. This agreement was rock solid. It's covered in these official tax stamps. You can see one here for 10 pesetas. This proves the taxes were paid and the government officially recognized it. This was a completely binding legal document.
But then, right in the middle of all this legal language and official stamps, you find this just deeply human detail. The last page notes that the landowner, Ramon Sales, has said he does not know how to write. He couldn't sign his own name. He had to ask a witness to sign for him. Just think about that. A man who owned the very land they were building this future on, he sealed this huge 29-year deal, not with his own signature, but with his word and his trust in the people around him.
So you have one man who couldn't even write his own name, and another who signed away what amounted to the rest of his working life. Their entire agreement was this incredible mix of formal, ironclad law and simple personal trust, and it lasted for a generation. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? A single signature, a 29-year commitment. What kind of promises are we making today that will still be echoing more than 100 years from now?